as a lot of you guys are aware, James Gunn is now the Kevin Feige, or whatever you want to call him, of the DC Cinematic Universe. He is now Warner Brothers Kevin Feige. He is the one who is going to turn around DC Studios and essentially try to make something out of the complete mess that was left over by the previous regime. But of course, Henry Cavill has come back as Superman, as most of you know, by the end of Black Adam. At the end of that movie, they teased a little bit a cameo of Superman against Black Adam and basically said that they need to talk and all this stuff. It was pretty cool. It was a very quick scene, but it did get a lot of people hype, admittingly, because a lot of people wanted to see Henry Cavill return as Superman. That was basically it was the easiest way for DC to get people in the seats, was to bring Henry Cavill back as Superman, especially since he just recently left The Witcher for some unknown reasons, to be honest with you. But he left The Witcher, and a lot of people think it's because of the source material butchering that was happening over at that TV show. But now there's apparently a new rumor that has come out that James Gunn is apparently trying to downplay. And that rumor, as you guys can see from Bounding Into Comics, a link is in the description box below. It says that the rumor is Henry Cavill signed a new contract to play Superman in multiple projects. Now, obviously, that would be cool for DC Studios if that was really a thing, but apparently James Gunn is trying to downplay it. Whether he's outright denying it is something to be seen. But let's see what it says. So it says Henry Cavill has returned as Superman in Black Adam, and he has a new deal to wear the cape again for the foreseeable future, right? Well, maybe not. The new co-head of DC Studios, James Gunn, is not yet committed to provide an answer. However, challenging reports claiming Cavill has a new contract and that he is still the DCU's Man of Steel. Responding on Twitter to a report from Gigosity about Cavill's contract status for television as well as film, Gunn clearly was unimpressed with the site's reportage and questioned both their veracity and that of their sources. Gigosity has been on the beat for a year or more and is adamant that Cavill's Superman, like Thanos, is inevitable. I'm not sure if you're purposefully lying or being taken advantage of by someone lying to you, but as I've stated on here before, no one knows what's happening at DC Studios right now other than me and Peter Safran. That would include writing up any new contracts for anyone at this point, Gunn replied in a tweet. Now, I don't know why he would I don't really think he's against this necessarily. I understand that he's trying to keep some cards in his pocket to reveal later on. I get that. So when someone leaks something like this or creates a rumor, it's kind of spoiling something that he might have had as like a trump card sort of a thing in his back pocket to try to throw at fans, to try to get them into the seats. But people want Henry Cavill as Superman. This is something we've talked about all the time. Many people report on it all the time. Henry Cavill is a ultimate fan favorite when it comes to Superman, at least for the modern era, and there's no reason to not use Henry Cavill as Superman. It would be pretty obvious, especially after introducing him in Black Adam. Now, a lot of people are saying that he was introduced in Black Adam because of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson specifically asking this to happen and fighting for this to happen for many years. Whether that's true or not, I mean, it's obvious. We do know it is true, but whether that is the deciding factor of him actually coming back, who knows, truthfully, at the end of the day. None of us are working for DC Studios, so we can't actually speak on that. But it'll be pretty easy money if they bring him back as Superman for multiple projects. But let's continue. So it says, to be clear, his response doesn't mean Gunn has no interest in Cavill or that a deal isn't being worked out, just that nothing is finalized. That still doesn't bode well for other rumors going further in claiming he is signed up for sequels to Justice League, Black Adam, and Man of Steel, which is overdue for one. None of those is confirmed, although word of a MOS 2 produced by Charles Roven and in search of a writer and director did leak to the trades upon Black Adam's release. The good news is that we should find out for sure after 2 months if this film is really in development. Gunn's DCU strategy will be announced in that time frame. I'm really hoping that they take their time with the new DCU, because honestly, the problem with DC is that I know they're not trying to necessarily follow the formula of Marvel, because Marvel is very formulaic now at this point, but there are certain factors within that formula that make it very good for entertainment. It's very easy to follow. They lay out everything for people to follow. Like, it is literally the easiest thing. Any moron can follow Marvel's cinematic universe and know exactly where every movie falls within the timeline. When it comes to DC, they're too busy making one-off projects. They're too busy making reboots that they don't really have a cinematic universe. And personally, part of me feels that DC probably would have been better off making solo series within their own different worlds. Because Dark Knight was obviously one of the most famous movies that have come out from DC. Joker is also a famous movie that's come out from DC. And they're all basically solo adventure films within their own respective universes. Even though they share the same story as an overarching whole, they don't combine in the movies. And that's what made them so special, because everything that was going on had you focused on what was going on in their particular world, instead of trying to create this massive cinematic universe that you have to remember all these different separate characters. You got to make everything tie in. It sometimes makes things a little overly complicated. Whereas something like the Dark Knight series is a three movie bang, and that's it. And you got to get a great complete story from beginning to end within that movie specific universe. So I think sometimes I wish that they would go that route instead of actually going in the cinematic universe route. But at the end of the day, the cinematic universe is what's going to bring them long term money. And if they do it right, it will be profitable for them. But I don't think they're necessarily going to follow Marvel's formula 100% to the T. But I just hope that they do at least follow Marvel's structure. If they could follow Marvel's structure, it'll get them plenty of money, I'm sure. It says, yes, that is true, revealing that a WBD Warner Bros. Discovery team, Gunn confirmed in a reply to Twitter user at Gimitco, who wondered about a story by The Wrap that mentioned the 2-month timetable. By then, the supposed gulf between Gunn and Peter Safran leadership dichotomy and Dwayne Johnson's camp might be bridged, and negotiations between DC Studios and Henry Cavill could begin. So listen, this article is very straightforward. It's obviously talking about the fact that Henry Cavill is not ruled out to be Superman long term. James Gunn is obviously going to have an interest in Henry Cavill as Superman long term, but it all comes down to money at the end of the day. Money is going to be the deciding factor over whether or not someone is playing in a role, whether short term or long term. Money is going to be the deciding factor and the overall presence that that character brings. And they know that Henry Cavill brings that Superman presence. They know that he is the red cape wearing Superman. They know that. So they don't have to worry about whether or not he can play the role. All they have to worry about is the negotiations of the contract and where they're going to ultimately land before they decide to come out publicly and say, okay, we have Henry Cavill slated for XYZ amount of movies, guaranteed, and they don't want to put necessarily their stamp of approval on it yet until obviously the negotiations are done. Because if they come out and say Henry Cavill is going to be in 3, 4, 5 movies, and then something happens and they end up losing him after 1 or 2 movies, kind of like what's happening with The Witcher right now, then there's going to be a big uproar to the point where a lot of people are saying they're not going to watch the continuation of The Witcher because Henry Cavill as Geralt of Rivia was the reason why a lot of people were watching The Witcher. They fell in love with him as the character. I did too. I thought he did fantastic as Geralt of Rivia. So if they end up doing something similar with DC, then that's going to be a major disappointment. And honestly, DC cannot afford another major disappointment. So they're going to stick very closely with this one, and they're not going to announce anything until it comes down to actually being true. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy, and if you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know your day story, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.